Hey, sixth grade. In this video, we're going to talk about how you multiply fractions. So the big difference between adding and subtracting fractions and multiplying fractions is that you do not need common denominators when multiplying fractions. In fact, trying to get common denominators will make your life a little bit more difficult. So if they're not there, don't worry about it. The steps to multiplying fractions, it's pretty simple. Step 1 is to multiply the numerators together. Step 2 is to multiply the denominators together, and then step 3 is to simplify or reduce if necessary. So on number 1, we have the fraction 2/3 times the fraction 4/5. So to multiply these two fractions together, I'm simply going to multiply my numerators, which are 2 and 4, and then I'm going to multiply my denominators together. My denominators are 3 and 5. So this will be 2 times 4 over 3 times 5. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 5 is 15. So this becomes the fraction 8/15. Number 2, we have 6/7 times 2/7. Again, we multiply our numerators together, so 6 times 2. And then we multiply our denominators together. Our denominators are 7 and 7, so that'll be 7 times 7. 6 times 2 is 12, and 7 times 7 is 49. So this becomes the fraction 12/49. Sometimes it's easier to reduce before we multiply, and when we do that, we call this process canceling. So we're going to look at a few problems that involve what's called canceling out fractions. So if we look at number 3, we have the fraction 2/3 times 3/4. So again, I'm going to multiply my numerators together, 2 times 3. And then I'm going to multiply my denominators together. My denominators are 3 times 4. But before I actually multiply these, I'm going to look top to bottom and see, is there any place that I can reduce these numbers and make them a little bit smaller. So we see we have a 3 on top, and we also have a 3 on the bottom. We know that 3 and 3 are both divisible by 3. So if I divide this 3 on top and this 3 on the bottom both by 3, I'm going to get a 1 in their place. So I can cancel out each of these 3's by dividing them by 3 and make them 1's instead. I can do the same thing with my 2 and my 4. A 2 on the top and the 4 on the bottom. Because 2 and 4 are both divisible by 2, I can divide this 2 by 2 to get 1, and this 4 by 2 to get 2, and this cancels out my 2 and 4. So look what I'm left with. Instead of 2 times 3 over 3 times 4, I'm left with 1 times 1 in my numerator, and 1 times 2 in my denominator. It just makes my numbers a little bit smaller or easier to multiply. 1 times 1 is 1, and then in my denominator 1 times 2 is 2, so this becomes the fraction 1/2. I can do the same thing on number 4. I have 3/8 times 6/15. So in my numerator I'm going to be taking 3 times 6. In my denominator I'll be taking 8 times 15. But before I actually multiply, if I look up and down to see where I can cancel, I see I have a 3 and a 15. 3 and 15 are both divisible by 3. So I can divide by 3 and make this a 1 and a 5. I can do the same thing for my 6 and my 8. I can divide those both by 2 and make this a 3 and a 4. So this becomes 1 times 3 over 4 times 5. One times 3 is 3, and 4 times 5 is 20, so this becomes 3/20. 3/20. For number 5, we have the whole number 3 times the fraction 3/5. Whole numbers, remember, we can write those as improper fractions by putting those over 1, so I can rewrite this as 3 over 1 times 3/5. So when I multiply, I'll be taking 3 times 3 in my numerator, and 1 times 5 in my denominator. 3 times 3 is 9. and 1 times 5 is 5, so I get the improper fraction 9/5. We want to make our improper fractions mixed numbers, so I need to take 9 divided by 5. 5 will go into 9 one whole time, and I'm left with a remainder of 4. So this becomes the mixed number 1 and 4/5. Number 6, 5/6 times 4. Again, we'll make our whole number 4 over 1. So in my numerator, I'll be taking 5 times 4. And in my denominator, I'll be taking 6 times 1. Let's look for opportunities to cancel. I have a 4 on the top and a 6 on the bottom. 4 and 6 are both divisible by 2, so I can divide and make this a 2 and this a 3. So this becomes 5 times 2 over 3 times 1. 5 times 2 is 10, and 3 times 1 is 3, so I get the improper fraction 10/3. I need to make that a mixed number, so I'm doing 10 divided by 3. 3 goes into 10 3 times, and I have a remainder of 1, so this becomes the mixed number 3 and 1/3. Okay, the last two problems are word problems. So number 7 says Sherry spent 4 hours exercising last week. If 5/6 of the time was spent jogging, how much time did she spend jogging? Anytime we see that word of, it's typically going to mean multiplication. Okay, that word of is going to mean multiplication in a word problem usually. So if I see that she spent a total of 4 hours exercising and 5/6 of that time was spent jogging, that means I need to take the whole number 4 times my fraction 5/6. So I'm going to place 4 over 1, so this will be 4 over 1 times 5 over 6. So we're going to be doing 4 times 5 divided by 1 times 6. I can cancel my 4 and my 6. 4 and 6 we know cancel to 2 and 3. And so this gives us 2 times 5 over 1 times 3. This is actually the same problem as we did for number 6 just a moment ago. So we're going to get 10 over 3, which again is the mixed number we know from number 6 as 3 and 1/3. So this means that Sherry spent 3 and 1/3 hours jogging. Okay, last problem says a cookie recipe calls for 1/3 of a teaspoon of salt for one batch. Doreen is making cookies for a school bake sale and wants to make 5 batches. How much salt does she need? So we need to think about this problem. If there's 1/3 of a teaspoon in one batch, then for 5 batches, that means we'll have to take this 1/3 times 5. We're making 5 times the amount of cookies. So this will be the problem 1/3 times 5. Remember, I can put that whole number 5 over 1. So this is going to become 1 times 5 over 3 times 1, which gives me the improper fraction 5/3. To make this a mixed number, I need to take 5 divided by 3. 3 will go into 5 one time. We get a remainder of 2, so this becomes the mixed number 1 and 2/3. So this means that Doreen needs 1 and 2/3 teaspoons of salt. Okay, if you had any questions over this video, make sure you've written those down. And until we see you the next time, have a nice day. You're all wonderful people. Take care.